to the 87th Legislative District Forum. My name is Jim Rule, and I'm the Tazewell County Republican Chairman, which just means I get to clean the toilets down there. Before we do anything at all of our GOP events, we first give glory and honor to God, and we stand and we pledge our allegiance to flag and country. So if you would join me, I'm going to introduce to you our invocation given by Dean Geisler.
Let's pray. Father, it's good. It's good to be with like-minded people. It's good to be here serving you in this time in history. And Lord, we know that you've called either Bill or Mary for such a time as this. And Lord, you've called us to support them and our government at such a time as this. You make no mistakes. But Lord, we often wonder how you come to how things are going to get to the end, like we read about in Revelation, and Lord, we try to figure out the path to get there. Lord, help us to not doubt or worry or fear, but you haven't given us a spirit of fear. You've given those you've called a spirit of power and love and clear thinking. So Lord, please help us to exercise that, whether we're serving in office or we're loving our kids, loving our wives, serving those we work with or are round about with in the community. Bless this time tonight. Make it a place of love, and may your Spirit be here with us as we sort through many issues that face our state and the part that one of these two will have to help solve problems. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would like to, before we get going, I want to thank the Hopedale Medical Center. These folks have really outdone themselves, the staff. Emily Whitson is the COO here, and the people that work with her to bring this we're deeply thankful for everything that they're doing for us tonight. So thank you very much, Hopedale Medical Center. There are a couple people that are here that I just want to point out in the audience. John Ackerman's here. He's our county clerk for Tazewell County. He's running the lights. We had to teach him how to do that. He wasn't. We've got a couple county board members here. Carol Limig is here. Where are you at, Carol? Max Snyder is here. And our circuit clerk is sitting in the audience. Link Hobson. Who else did I miss? Oh, Tammy Rich Simpson. I didn't see you over there. There you are. County Board Member Tammy Rich Simpson. Thank you. Okay, so as you know, and as Dean had alluded to, we have a lot of issues here in the state. Particularly they affect us here in the 87th, or what will be the 87th Legislative District. This seat is being vacated by Representative Keith Summer, and we've got two fantastic candidates that are vying for that seat. They both bring a lot to the table. They both have a lot of experience, and tonight we're going to meet them and we're going to listen to what they have to say and why they want your vote. So without further ado, I will introduce to you the two candidates, and I'll introduce to you Dean Geisler, who's our moderator for the evening, and then I'll shut up. Our first, and we drew, by the way, to go first and second, so I'm not playing favoritism. They had to pick one or two. The person that picked to go first was Dr. William Howder. Dr. William Howder was born and raised in Morton, Illinois. He is an anesthesiologist here in the Peoria area and was board certified in 2004. He is the Assistant Clinical Professor of Surgery Anesthesiology at the University of Illinois College of Medicine in Peoria. He holds a number of other esteemed positions, including the current Vice President of the Illinois Society of Anesthesiologists and is a current board member of the Associated Anesthesiologists. Dr. Howder has been married to Shelley Howder for 30 years, and they have 5 children. They have been members of the Cornerstone Baptist Church for 19 years. The Howders have a passion for adoption. They adopted their youngest from Bulgaria in 2010, and they support adoption ministries like Life-Strong for Children in Gridley, Illinois. And they have helped many families with the costs associated with their adoptions. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. William Howder. Mary Burris is a native of Missouri and has been an Illinois resident since 1975. She is presently the elected county treasurer of Tazewell County, which is one of the largest counties in Illinois. Mary began her career in local government in 1984. She served in the treasurer's office for 5 years before she was appointed chief deputy, and she served in that capacity for 21 years. She was elected treasurer of Tazewell County, Illinois in 2010. She also holds the positions of chief investment officer for Tazewell County as well as chief financial officer. She served as the Tazewell County GOP chairwoman for 2 terms, bringing in 2 new Republican seats. Mary serves on many committees within the county. Presently, she is a Pekin Rotary member, a past board member of the Salvation Army. She has served as the treasurer of the Altrusa Club and the past president of the American Businesswomen's Association of Pekin. Mary also served as an elected trustee for Cincinnati Township. She is currently a member of the Illinois Treasurers Association. Mary and her family currently reside in Pekin, Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Burris. Our moderator for the evening, the guy whose name I forgot, and I've only known him for how long? I don't know how many years.
A couple months.
Yeah, a couple months. Dean Keisner. Dean is from Central Illinois and has resided in the Tri-County area for over 20 years. He is the vice chair of the Tazewell County Republican Party and is an elected precinct committeeman. He earned a bachelor's degree from the University of Illinois and a master's of divinity from Sangre de Cristo Seminary in Colorado. He is the logistics manager for VirtueSense Technologies in Peoria and remodeling contractor for his own small business. He previously served as chairman of the Delavan Advancement Commission and was a member of the Prairieland Toastmasters for several years. Dean has moderated past events in Tazewell County, such as the Tazewell County Board Candidates Forum, the Tazewell County Auditors Candidate Forum, and the 2020 Republican U.S. Senate Candidate Forum. And if you were there last Tuesday, he also moderated our immensely successful gubernatorial candidate forum at 5 Points in Washington. He is a very skilled communicator who makes people feel at ease. Ladies and gentlemen, your moderator for the evening, Dean Keisner.
I want to say, I think we should thank Jim first.
Sure.
Because he's done a phenomenal job taking over where Mary left off a few years ago. He would clean toilets because that's the servant's heart he has. But he has never done, I don't know that he's done that. He probably has, he wouldn't tell anybody if he has, but Michelle won't let him. But Jim's a great guy to serve with. I'm really blessed to know him as my friend and, and just to see what the Lord's doing in you and how you're not only leading in Tazewell County, but making you know, what we're doing well known throughout the state.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. So this is like a conversation in my family room with just a bunch of people that I'm friends with and that I know. How can this be any better than just hanging out with people that you like and getting to know them better? So as you get to know them better tonight, you feel free to applaud, you know, give approval to positive feedback. Give them positive feedback. Our format tonight will be opening statement, 3 minutes for each person. Mr. Howder will go first, and then when we do closing statements, Mary will go first. And then as we go through the question and answer, each one will rotate back and forth. So they'll be doubled up a little bit, but that's just the nature of it for tonight. They've been given the topics, but they don't know the questions. So we didn't want to blindside them completely. We do have some audience questions that we'll look through to see if those fit in or not. We'll add those if they're appropriate. So we talked about John over here with the green, yellow, and red light. So 30 seconds left. Green light will go on, and yellow light at 15, and red, shut up. All right, we're here to hear what you guys have to say. So, Bill, opening statement, 3 minutes.
We have an opportunity to elect a new generation of conservative leaders for Illinois. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'd just like also to thank Jim, Dean, and Verge for putting this together, the Rossi family for making this available, this nice place. This is a little jewel in the middle of the district. It really is, and I have some family and friends who work here as well, and they love it. And I have some family here, and it's a good thing they're here because I need to persuade them to vote for me. So I asked them all to come so I could work on them some more. But I especially wanted to thank my wife, who is my best friend and my most constructive critic. And next month we'll have been married 30 years, and many of them have been quite happy as well. But really, we have been just so blessed by God and our life together, our crazy life together, and we have 5 wonderful, awesome kids as well. So Mary and I have been traveling the district and seeing each other at many events. I told her we need to carpool together and save some money. But we are opponents, but not enemies, okay? And iron sharpens iron, and we're going to make each other better candidates. I've told her that before, and I will say that I'm kind of mad. I got a mailer with her name all over it. Yes, it was a tax bill, and she wanted lots of money. So nobody likes you, Mary. Nobody likes you. I'm going to turn the crowd against me for this. But we're on the same team. We just want to be the starter. You know what I mean? So to introduce myself, I'm a practicing physician. I'm also on the Tazewell County Board. I practice both emergency medicine and anesthesia, and that's a whole other story why I do both specialties. But I do both specialties. I specialize in pediatric cardiac anesthesia. And as mentioned, I'm from Morton. And I have been taking care of patients for 25 years, and I love it. But I've been taking care of COVID patients the last 2 years, and COVID has opened my eyes. And it has motivated me and compelled me to run for office. Career politicians are ruining our state. I will never be a career politician. The state is broke and broken by lifelong politicians who are corrupt and who specialize in spending other people's money. A physician who believes in personal freedom, a conservative who shares your values, representing you in Springfield with a voice and unique perspective for you in Springfield, and I will never be a career politician. Friends, we are in a state of emergency, and I know a little bit about emergencies. I've been dealing with them my whole life. I said at the start, we have the opportunity to elect a new generation of conservative leaders for this state. And I said it, we do, okay? It's only going to happen if we work together. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you, Bill, for those kind words. I am Mary Burris, and currently I am Tazewell County Treasurer. But I would like to take a few moments and tell you how I got where I am today. So I'm originally from the state of Missouri, and I thought I was going to follow my big city dreams, and those big city dreams, believe it or not, landed me in Pekin, Illinois, of all places. With raising my family there, having 2 small toddlers, I needed a job. I went downtown Pekin. I walked into Tazewell County Treasurer's office. So, you cannot hear me? So I walked into Tazewell County Treasurer's office. I was offered a part-time job on the spot, and thank you. Okay. And the following spring, I was offered a full-time job. So as they say, the rest is history. After 5 short years of being there, I was appointed Chief Deputy Treasurer, and then in 2010, I ran and became the first female Republican treasurer that Tazewell County has had. It is truly an honor to be your treasurer. The treasurer is your chief financial officer, you're the chief investment officer, but it is an honor to represent each and every one of you here in this room. Tazewell County is one of the largest downstate counties, so to represent that and to be a leader of such a frugal county is truly an honor. Sorry. But I want to tell you what I want to do for you as your representative. First thing, when a bill, the safety bill, is passed at 4 a.m. in the morning, such an important bill, I'm sorry, I'm short, so here we go. Such an important bill is passed at 4 a.m. in the morning is nothing but corruption. We have to stop corruption. We have to bring safety back in our communities. We have to stop demoralizing the police officers. Most of you know in this room, my late husband was a police officer for the city of Pekin, so I will always have the backing of the blue. Second thing I will stand strong for, and that is your constitutional rights. I will fight every day that your Second Amendment will not be taken away from you. We have to get rid of that FOID card when $30 million is taken from the state police and added to the general coffer for them to do their special interests. That, once again, is corruption. If it would have stayed in the state police funding, they would have been able to get their FOID cards out on time and get the concealed carries out on time instead of waiting year after year for them. The last but it is the most important, and that is our children's education. We need to bring our children's education back to the local level. Parents need to know what, when, and why our children are being taught. Last thing I want to mention is I'm a full-time treasurer, but I will be your full-time representative, representing you each and every day when I go to Springfield as the new representative in the 87th District. Thank you.
Fight this thing all night, maybe.
You know what? I'm going to take it off.
Just take it off the
We
wall.
have Poland and everybody.
John, I'm so glad you're here tonight. You're multitasking like crazy. I didn't want to hold that for her unless she's trying to talk.
We're going to keep slipping, it'll take away from the
And
camera.
he didn't want to say it was
What do you think?
vertical jump.
Here we go. I'll lead off with this thing. Okay. Question number 1. So Mary, you'll be back up here to start with this, okay? Yeah. So one of the most significant issues, so we have to prioritize these. The citizens of Illinois face is the unfunded pension liability. What are your thoughts on what needs to happen to reduce the crowding out of other important services and relieving the heavy burden on our citizens? And are you planning to apply for retirement benefits if you're elected?
First, I will mention I will not be taking a state pension or their state insurance that they will offer. I want to tell you I'm a director for the IPPFA, and there are things that we are already doing with a $9 billion budget that the downstate police and fire have brought, the state has decided to take over. Things that they have already done. Number one, I helped the rest of the directors bring Central Illinois the place where these investments would be held. Instead of, they wanted to have it up in Chicago. So we localized it. It is in Peoria. That will bring 18 to 20 new jobs here in Central Illinois. Second, they have already, which they should have done years ago instead of kicking the can down the road, they have lifted the restrictions on the investments. So whenever you have a $9 billion money that you are pulling and you can invest that without the restrictions that they had on the municipalities so many years, you are going to draw your interest higher. When you have more interest, that will make you have less tax dollars that will have to be put into that fund. Lastly, another thing that we have done is had a rolling amortization instead of just an amortization schedule. So we have to be, one thing we do have to do is be very, very careful with our pension reform. We do need pension reform, but we need to be careful. Ask your local sheriff, ask your police chief. You can hardly get someone to apply for that kind of a job. We have to be careful what we do take away from them. Thank you.
Well, I will definitely not take this corrupt pension. If you ever want to get depressed, just study the unfunded liabilities in the Illinois pension system. Not only will you be depressed about how deeply we are in debt, but about the corruption that caused this whole mess. And it really, pension reform is really the linchpin in the whole getting people to actually stay in Illinois, because it touches on and it's linked to the tax reform and property tax reform. It's linked to people actually staying in this state. And there's obvious corruption, okay? The union bosses elected their people that gave them large pensions and benefits, and then in turn they used the dues from the unions to re-elect and elect these usually Democrat politicians, career politicians who just in a vicious cycle, they just keep giving them money, giving the benefits. The real solution is CPR, and one of the governor candidates said it, and it appealed to me, of course, but constitutional pension reform. It has to start at the constitutional level. We have to do it, and it has to be amended so that we can guarantee the benefits to the people that we promised to, but amend them for the future pensioners. And it's going to take hard work. And again, I come back to, it's not going to be me. What am I going to do? It's going to be all of us working together, and that's the only solution. It has to be a constitutional amendment.
Thank you very much. So the second question, the new 87th is larger than just Tazewell County. Estimates are that Tazewell County will still have most of the population in the district, about 45 to 50%. That said, 50 to 55% will live outside of Tazewell County. How will you reach and represent the constituents throughout your district? 90 seconds.
Well, I mean, that's easy. I'm elected to be a representative of all the people, and this 87th district is very rural, and then the gerrymandering that the Democrats did, another power move, they made it a super Republican district, okay? So there's no Democrat opposition. So it's a very rural district, and it's a very conservative district. And I know, and I'm a conservative person, and I can represent them. And there's a lot of them that are interested, very interested, like Mary mentioned, in the Second Amendment and Second Amendment rights, and that needs to be fought for and battled for. And there's also things to do with agriculture that is very important to me as well. And precision planting has just opened up a new, huge facility in Morton. And so the agribusiness is extremely important to the district, and I will represent them well.
So the population is split. Well, Tazewell County has the most, but then the rest of the district is 50-55%. How will you represent and reach the constituents throughout the rest of your district?
That is a very good question. And as if any of you have been following me on Facebook, you see that I am everywhere. This district is 7 counties. It's 1,718.46 square miles. There is a lot of district to cover. I have been going to each and every county, already talking to all the constituents. Yes, they are concerned about their schools. Yes, they are concerned about their Second Amendment not being taken away from them. And yes, the farmers are concerned about how are they going to continue to farm and feed the people. But here's one of my things I want to say to you, and that is you. You, the people, are the best thing that Illinois has. And with you being the best thing that Illinois has, we have to represent you the best that we can. And that is by being your full-time representative, being there each and every day for you. When you are not in session, you need to be out working with the constituents, talking to them, listening to them. What can I do for you? And that's how I would represent full-time representation.
All right, so both of you have been out and around talking with people. So and you've mentioned farming, you've mentioned gun rights. Let's dig a little deeper, if you care to. As you've been to these different places, is there one specific thing that you hear more than not? And how would you, go ahead.
One specific thing.
It can be more.
That once again is a very good question, and it is our children's education. I think I hear that more than anything. Yes, they do not want their rights taken away as far as our Second Amendment, but it is our children's education, how they're being taught, when they're being taught, why they're being taught what they are. Critical race theory does not be in our schools. I hear it every day that I go represent our work in the communities. Thank you. That needs to be brought back to the local level, and we as parents, grandparents, need to have a say in how our children are being taught. Not that in kindergarten they're being taught sex education. Now don't get me wrong, I do understand there's good touch, bad touch, but not sex education at kindergarten level. That's the most I hear.
I'll go back to what's really motivated me. I see a lot of people in the district that are extremely motivated by the abuse of power of our governor and our government during this COVID tyranny. There's a statement that goes around in my head, and that is, for the good of society is always the alibi of tyrants. And one man ruled us with emergency powers for 700 days. He decided what businesses failed and what businesses remained open. He decided when our kids went to school. He decided if we could travel. Of course, it didn't matter. Him and his family could travel. He decided even how many people were in our worship services, but Black Lives Matter could do whatever they wanted to because they were an approved protest. Okay, so this has been very motivating to me to see, and it's opened up my eyes to see that the power the control they have over us. They coerced vaccination mandates. They coerced people and threatened their very jobs, threatened them going to school, threatened their travel. And this was one man, not one party rule. We had one man rule. So we need to reduce the power of the executive and reduce emergency powers. And that's one of the first things I think we need to do. And it could be bipartisan. It needs to be debated by the people's representatives.
Question number 4. Critical race theory, or in Illinois as it's packaged, culturally responsive learning and teaching, is due to become part of the curriculum which colleges will introduce to students who are working toward a degree in education beginning in 2024. It is already being taught in some of our high schools and lower level schools to our children and grandchildren, and they're being either labeled as oppressed or oppressors. The LGBTQ segment of our society wants to expose our young minds to their agenda and force.
The solution to it is you, again, it's you. It's every one of us being involved parents, looking at the curriculum, being involved at the school board level, and holding local school boards accountable. It's local control, and that's the only response, is that we have to get involved, and we have to, it's not gonna happen. Illinois, we can say all we want to, but it's not gonna happen in the legislature. It's gonna happen at the local level, and we have to be vigilant and stop this garbage.
So I kind of mentioned that on just my last comment, that critical race theory needs to stop, not come to our schools at all. And the way to do that, number one, get rid of the governor that we have. Number two, when a Republican governor gets in there, and then, you know, I really don't care at this time who it is, anybody other than Pritzker. But when we have a new Republican governor, I would hope that his first thing in order would be to get rid of the chairman of the State Board of Education. I want to say election, but State Board of Education. With that being gone, critical race theory will be stopped and not taught to our children anymore. Like I said earlier, I'm going to repeat myself, but I am totally against sex education being taught in our schools at such a young age. We cannot let that happen. Our power needs to be brought back to the local level and let the parents decide how they want their children taught. We need to go back to basic education and teach our children a true education. They are falling behind. We need to bring the power back to the local level.
So current laws in this state clearly infringe, as we've already talked about, the Second Amendment a few different times, and the right to bear arms. FFL dealers, or federal firearms licensed dealers, are being driven out of business throughout Illinois, and the progressive liberal agenda wants very much to create a gun registry. Can I hear any boos for that? Yeah, boos. What specific action would you take to defend and protect our rights to this most important amendment to the Constitution?
Well, first of all, I'm totally against the Constitution being amended for our Second Amendment. We have to fight very, very strong to protect that. You know, this isn't, it's against the good people that are law-abiding citizens. The FOID card needs to go away. Anytime, I said it earlier, you have $30 million that is being taken from the state police pension budget and put to the general coffer. That is corruption in its finest. They are taking that money and spending it on their special interest. So the FOID card needs to be completely gone. They need to be careful of this red flag law that is out there. That is it puts good people. Just because someone says that, you know, they did something bad, it might be a husband and wife fighting, one hit the other goes and has an order of protection against them, that needs to go away. They are good, law-abiding citizens that these red flags are being put on. So once again, just be that strong voice. We cannot let our Second Amendment be taken away from us.
Well, I totally agree with everything Mary said. The first answer to your question is avoid the FOID. Okay, the FOID card is used to control us again, and it's to control law-abiding citizens. I'm strongly for the Second Amendment. You know, it's amazing how smart and how brilliant our founding fathers were. They knew that the Second Amendment is key to protecting every one of the other amendments. I'm an ISRA member. I have a handgun for personal safety and many shotguns. When you look at what happened during COVID in Canada and Australia, the key to that is they were a disarmed population. The first thing they do is take away the guns. That's what they do to maintain power. The state controls it, and I deal with many gunshot victims. I see it a lot. I can probably say I've never seen a gunshot victim that was shot by a gun where the owner had this FOID card, all right? It's not used to control the criminals. It's used to annoy the heck out of normal, ordinary, law-abiding citizens. I tried to buy Cabela's a few years ago. I went in there without my FOID card. I tried to buy and I just remembered I didn't have it. I tried to buy an empty ammo box. You know, one of those green empty boxes. Went up there, didn't have my void card. You can't buy a plastic box that might hold ammunition because you don't have your void card. So it's ridiculous, and it's just another way that they control us and with regulations, fees, and the void card.
All right, I just want to pause for a second and welcome Senator Sally Turner to our group tonight. So thanks for joining us tonight. On November 8th, 2022, voters will determine the fate of Amendment 1, a ballot measure that would enshrine collective bargaining rights in the Illinois Constitution and allow government union contracts to override any other state law. Billed as a ban on right-to-work laws, an analysis by the Illinois Policy Institute finds that this amendment goes further and would give government union leaders more power than state lawmakers or even voters have. Realizing this law may come prior to you running in your office, what are your thoughts on the Illinois constitutional amendment, and what specifically would you do to fight against it?
Well, that's another thing. What am I going to do? I'm going to fight against it. What are you guys going to do? The amendment number 1 is just remember, it makes unions number 1. It supersedes lawmakers, it supersedes our law, and it makes union contracts, union bargaining constitutional. So no lawmaker can touch it, no voter can touch it. It's enshrined in the Constitution. It's a big, fat, wet, sloppy kiss from the Democrats to the unions, okay? And they're just rewarding again their constituents who elect them and donate to them, and then they turn around and they voted to have this referendum put on the ballot. No person, I just cannot think of any person who would vote for this that wants Illinois to succeed. You have to want Illinois to fail, or you don't care, or you just don't understand it. Because it is an absolute poison pill for our state, and the only thing I can say is we all need to do whatever we can. Since if I would win, there would be no Democrat opposition. I plan to devote energy, time, and money to defeating this, because it is an obstacle to anything we are trying to do in this state.
So you want to repeat just exactly how you had answered it?
So realizing that this law may come prior to you taking office as legislator, what are your thoughts on this Illinois constitutional amendment, and what specifically would you do to fight against it?
Okay, first of all, it should have been on the ballot. It's going to be, so I would vote no for that. One of the main reasons is I believe that it will eventually come to a tax hike. I will be voting against any kind of a tax hike that hinge another tax on the citizens of Illinois. That's what Illinois seems to know how to do, is tax their way out of debt. And I think there would be a hidden agenda that the power of the unions would eventually have, the government would have to come up to place a tax on it. So I would be voting no for that.
So we're covering a lot of things here at a very fast pace. So a representative can't do everything. And each of you has a set of priorities that would be your main focus. Can you share with us what your 3 top priorities would be? And now that you tell us what they are, explain, kind of give us some details about how you would fix one of these. Maybe working across the aisle, whatever, how would you go about? Another thing, how are you going to work across the aisle? How are you going to work down there? We are not only a minority, we're a super minority. And so your 3 priorities, what's one of them that you would focus on in detail? And then how would you bring forth legislation or some process to see that implemented. I think you go first.
Well, I started out by saying I had 3 priorities. That is safety being brought back to our communities. That is our constitutional right for your Second Amendment, and that is our children's education. But I think one of the main things is our safety being brought back to our communities. You know, whenever that safety bill was passed the way it was nothing but corruption. And as of January 1st, if I am your new representative in the 87th District, I will do everything in my power to repeal that whole safety bill. That is when they are going to decide that anybody that is in jail, it is a no bond release. So they will not have to put any bond up. They can all be released. That is putting criminals back out on our streets with no bond needed. I will do everything in my power to fight against that and to bring safety back to our communities.
Well, I work with, in the emergency department, I work with prostitutes, addicts, and psychopaths, so I think I can work with the people in Springfield pretty well. A lot of training, but really, obviously, when you go down to Springfield, you want to work with people. You want to accomplish things. I think that there could be a possibility, I mentioned before, executive authority. If they're a self-respecting legislative branch, they want to be co-equal. And for one person to be able to rule during this with no debate in the legislature, I think is wrong. And I think the legislators realize it was wrong and that there needs to be some executive authority reduction. Also, the pension reform, I think, can because even Democrats realize that the pension mess we're in, that we have to reform it. So there can be some work across the aisle on this, but what I really want to focus on, and I think I can be really beneficial, is the healthcare economy in central Illinois, in this area, in this district, is so important. It's so vibrant. I mean, if you look at it, you have a $300 million project going up at OSF, the cancer center. They have the OSF headquarters going in. There's 2 large hospital systems competing. There's 3 hospitals in the district. So many people are employed in healthcare, and they're high-paying jobs. They're good jobs. They're employed in healthcare. And I have some special insight into this. I know the players. I know the issues, and healthcare is usually something you can work across the aisle in. When I go down there and with the Illinois Society of Anesthesiologists, and I do some lobbying. I lobby Democrats and Republicans because they're interested in healthcare and they understand the jobs that's involved and how it helps people. And these critical access hospitals like this right here are so important to the district. And so I think I can be a real valuable asset in the healthcare economy. It's a very vibrant part. I don't think we realize what a jewel we have in the healthcare system. The Downstate Medical Center is just amazing.
Thank you. So the next question is, if you have a controversial bill and your constituents are mixed on it, how would you go about arriving at your vote, at your decision? So we have a diverse people and you get a lot of feedback, pros and cons. How are you going to go about coming to that decision? And I just want to mix in a couple of subjects that the audience has brought up. So one is regarding abortion, which has gotten a tremendous amount of press in the last 24 hours. And then COVID emergencies. How would you know, there's people on both sides of these issues. So how are you going to come to your conclusions? Bill, I think you're first on this one.
Well, if anybody making decisions, you have to rely on your upbringing, your education, but really your convictions, right? It's really what you've been taught, how you've been brought up. And for me, it's going to obviously be prayer and the direction, that I think that God's taking me. but also my principles that I've always lived by, and it's usually the core principles of being a conservative. And that's live within your means, personal responsibility, don't be a victim, be a patriot. You know, all these things, you know, fear God, love country. So these are the things that are my principles. So when you're looking at abortion, I am very pro-life, but my family and I have been trying to be pro-life in word and deed. You know, God says, don't be just hearers of the word, but be doers of the word. And so it's very easy to be pro-life. You know, you can vote pro-life. But what are you doing? And so we saw, you know, where we could adopt. We saw where we could make a difference. My wife is the director of the Tazewell County Women's Pregnancy Center, Living Alternatives Women's Pregnancy Center. So it provides counseling, and it provides ultrasounds, medical care, free medical care, supplies to pregnant women to help them choose life. Okay, so I'm just saying that in not only voting, but with your actions, and that's how you live your life. That's how it should be how you live your life.
That is a very broad question, and it is so true. You have to lead by example, live your life the way that, let people treat you the way that you treat them. But you also have to have your principles and your values in life. You have to stand by them. I am pro-life. I think what Dean said this morning or today, that this morning we heard all about Roe versus Wade. I am so excited. I hope that gets overturned. And you know, I'm like Bill. I'm kind of going to bring my into this. When you lead your life and you do believe in God, faith, your family, it's humbling, and it is the way that you show your role models how to prepare their life themselves. My daughter is a director for CAC, which is Children's Advocacy Center. She sees every day when a young girl is raped and has a child, and they don't know what to do with it. So it is very heartening to see that this does go on. It's happening more and more in the state of Illinois, probably all over, not just the state of Illinois. So you do have to lead your life by example, and believe in God, and He will lead you.
All right, 2 more questions. All right, we'll make them specific. Election integrity is a major talking point for Republican candidates this year. What steps have you taken to understand this issue, and how are you preparing yourself for this topic? And what solutions are you offering going forward?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say that I think that our local election authorities do a very good job on having security in the voting boxes that they have. John has done an outstanding job for us. Second of all, it's pretty simple. Bring back voter ID. Voter ID will stop half of this problem. That's it.
Well, they want to be able to control the election outcome, and we saw that during COVID, how they changed the rules multiple times, and they made it a very questionable election, and a lot of irregularities happened. So they want that, and for the life of me, I can't figure out what their problem is with voter ID. If you believe in one legal citizen with one vote, the best way to do that is obvious. What do we do with every aspect of our society? We have an ID system. You have an ID for almost anything. It's not hard. This isn't hard, okay? But why are they fighting it? We know why they're fighting it. It's very easy. And what I see as an even more dangerous thing is the recruitment of the disinterested voter. The person who doesn't know who they're going to vote for, or doesn't want to vote, or doesn't care about voting, okay? They want to take those people and mail them ballots unsolicited. So there's a vast amount of ballots out there, and then they will harvest them according to how many votes they need and what the person that they gave the ballot to is, going to vote. So the recruitment, the strategy that I see as most dangerous is this recruitment of disinterested voters, mailed ballots unsolicited, and they're harvesting, the ballot harvesting. And I'm extremely against those examples, but also against I'm extremely positive, and I don't see any reason why we can't have voter ID.
Last question. Our nation has been blessed with outstanding individuals to step forward as President of the United States for centuries. Which president is your favorite? And why?
Well, that's extremely easy. It's Abraham Lincoln. Without question. I named my son, his middle name is Jacob Lincoln, and I am absolutely fascinated with Lincoln memorabilia. I collect Lincoln biographies. Why? Isn't obvious. I mean, this is a man who had no real formal education, and he was absolutely brilliant, and his words were poetry, and he inspired a nation, and he saved a nation. I don't think it's even close. I mean, there's no, and it's a success story. It's just an unbelievable success story. This guy in the middle of the wilderness educates himself and becomes someone who inspired a whole nation, and his political talents were incredible, and also his luck, and then how many times he failed. I'm just absolutely fascinated by Lincoln. There's nobody even close. Thanks.
18 times, I believe. Well, I'm going to have to say Ronald Reagan. He is right here from Central Illinois. I think he did an outstanding job for us as president, trying to unite this divided state that we did have at his time. He, once again, was one brilliant president for us. So he's just done he did an outstanding job for us, and I'd love to have another Ronald Reagan in this room.
We're done. Except for closing comments. So if you just want just a couple seconds, or if you're ready to go.
I'm ready.
You're ready, all right. Mary first, then.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you very much for each and every one of you coming out here tonight. I do want to thank the GOP party for hosting this event, and Carol Emick for getting this wonderful facility for us. My closing is going to be the people that have either stepped forward or the organizations that have stepped forward and endorsed me. It is a true honor to have these individuals believe in my leadership. And first and foremost, that is Representative Tim Butler. He represents most of this county. He has done an outstanding job for representing the area that he has. He's very disappointed that they have moved him on to another one, division. But he has the faith in me, and I am honored to have his endorsement. Second is the Illinois State FOP, Fraternal Order of Police. I said earlier that I will always back the blue. They have been there for us. We need to back them now more than ever. Next is the Illinois State ABATE. That is the bikers. All they want is their freedom, but they want protected on the roads. So they have endorsed my candidacy as well. Last but not least is DeWitt County GOP Chair, Dustin Peterson. He has followed me on my campaign, and he has put his trust and belief in me as well. But in closing, once again, I want to say thank you, thank you. I have been your full-time treasurer. It has been an honor to be your full-time treasurer. And I will tell you, I will work as hard as I have as treasurer, as your representative in the 87th district. And I will be there full-time for you. Thank you. I ask for your support on the June 28th primary. Thank you.
Well, in closing, thank you so much for this opportunity. I've been asked many times, what are you going to do? Why do you want to do it? What's your goal? And I want to turn it on to you, as I've done a couple of times tonight, and is what are you going to do? Things are daunting when you look at them in our state. The fiscal insanity, the pension crisis, there's so many things that just seem insurmountable. And I just think sometimes I'm going to go down to Springfield if I win and sit in a pretty room and lose 1,000 times in a row. You know, why do I want to do that? But I just feel like there's been things in my life, whether you look at the international orphan problem, whether you look at the abortion and the pervasiveness and the evil of abortion, and what are we going to do? What can we do? But God doesn't ask for us to solve the problem. He asks for us to make an effort, okay? He doesn't say win the race, he says run the race. He says fight the fight. And things seems so hard, and it's almost like he says to us, it's not what you do, it's why you do it, it's how you do it. So I'm running the race, and will you fight the fight with me? Because I'm not a politician, but I think I have something to say, and I'm asking you for your vote, and I'll respect your judgment. Thank you very much.
This has been great. You guys did a great job. It's really a pleasure to get to know you better and hear your. This concludes our activities tonight. Stay around and mingle with fellow conservatives and get to know the candidates a little bit better if you like. And thanks again for coming out. And there are refreshments over on your way towards the door.